if you're new to the school as just say 1 or 2 kids, I would definitely recommend contacting the room mom and just asking what kind of activities can I get involved in, because the room mom will happily take the help and assign you something. And that's kind of how I started.
Being new is really hard.
It is.
But it doesn't take long at St. Thomas. You start to feel part of a community and part of a family very quickly.
Kids love when new kids come too. If they don't come in kindergarten, kids are always excited when they get a new kid at St. Thomas, because they're together for so long. They're always excited to make a new friend in the class.
Well, the big thing that comes to my mind first and foremost is being a room parent. I mean, that's kind of my thing, and I love it. And it's how I got to know other moms and families, and that's a big deal to me.
As a room parent, you end up talking to everybody, so you have a chance to get to know everybody, and I feel like that was probably the way that, the easiest way, I guess, to kind of make connections, because we would see each other at each of the parties, and when we had questions, we would talk back and forth. And as a room parent, you end up talking to everybody, so you have a chance to get to know everybody, and I feel like that was probably the easiest way, I guess, to kind of make connections in the community.
And you get to know the teachers too, not just the other parents, you get to know the teachers. It's hard to pick a favorite.
I think I've really loved being involved with Fall Fair. I think that's a really fun thing to kind of get to be a part of the behind the scenes on that, and the decorating on the Friday before it starts, and seeing the kids walk through the courtyard and be all excited about what's going to happen the next day. I think has been one of my favorite activities.
And another thing I love, again, there's so many, is the Christmas concerts. I remember when Savannah, my oldest, her first kindergarten Christmas concert. I'm not really an emotional person. I was totally in tears. It was the sweetest thing I've ever seen, and I love it.
Being a K through 12 school, you don't get a lot of those. And the beauty of the K through 12 is the little ones get to look up to the big ones, but the big ones, in a way, they become big brothers and sisters to the little kids, even if they're not their real brother and sister. In fact, they're probably nicer than their real brother and sister. But they, and right in the middle is the middle school that kind of gets to be the arc over all that. And it's been a pleasure to watch when my children were really little in the kindergarten. Even I looked up to the high schoolers a little bit, like, wow, my kids are going to be that one day. And then to watch them become that, and watch them then take care of, like they did have a little brother in lower school, and they would kind of take his friends under their wings and help them in sports, and the tutoring's available for the middle and high school to help out. And I think that having that big age from 5 to 18 is really beneficial to everybody at the school.
Yeah, I love being able to have all 3 of my children at the same place. And even, for preschool, my 2 youngest went to preschool here, so they have been here from the time that they were 2. And I love having all 3 of them together. And, my kindergartner knows my 4th grader's friends, and she knows my 9th grader's friends, and they all know her, and they treat her really sweetly, I think that's definitely one of the best things about St. Thomas.
Another thing that I really love about St. Thomas that is different than any other private school, I think, in the city, is the way the kids are split up academically, girls and boys, in the lower school. And when my husband and I came through in our interview, and I remember Gretchen Hesse was walking us through, and she was explaining about the first grade girls and the first grade boys, and I thought, I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Well, now here I am, and 6 years later, and it makes perfect sense. It's such a great thing because their learning styles are so different, the boys and the girls. And they're together in the arts. They're together in many other aspects at the school, but learning in different classrooms is a great thing. And I'm so happy that we took the plunge. Well, I have a daughter who has some learning glitches, and I was concerned about it, and St. Thomas has been nothing but amazingly accommodating. We've had meetings. They've reached out to me. She has been cared for, and therapists have been allowed to come on the campus. It's been really great. I feel like my children are cared for individually by everyone at St. Thomas. We had a Zoom meeting before school started this year, and I thought this is going to be so hard to get all the different aspects of her learning or her school experience, to get them all together in one place. Mrs. Ma worked so hard making sure every single person was there. I had my people there. There was probably 6 people discussing her academic year, and it was so touching to me. I remember listening to them all interact about her and what they were going to do to help her, and really, they were all cheerleading for her. And I just sat back and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
You really do feel like your child is an individual here. You don't feel like your child is a massive or a group. I mean, the school, starting from kindergarten all the way up through even up to their senior year, they got a few months left. It doesn't matter. They are going to take your child in as an individual. What can we do as a group? As the teachers, as the administration, as the parents, we're going to take your kid into consideration for all that we need, whether it's academics or any other aspect. They really do. And they've been consistent about that, and I can say that now. Now that I've had a kid go through lower, middle, and upper school, they're very consistent about knowing your child as a whole person, and that's big to me.
I think because the community is so small that often the teachers know the student before they actually have them in their class, which I think is really, really important. I have 2 children who are very outgoing and, make themselves known and have no problems. And then I have another child who is very quiet. And, depending on the approach that's taken with him, you may get a positive response, you may get a negative response. But because these teachers know him before they have him, I think that helps tremendously, whether, as opposed to like if you were just walking into a classroom blind and, this teacher had no idea who he was or what his personality was like or what he was like growing up. So I love the way that the various, activities work with each other so that you're really not limited. I know, like, when I grew up, whatever your activity was, you basically had to choose one, because it was like if you're in theater, you had practice every day after school, which meant you couldn't also be in soccer because they had practice every day after school, and you had to choose one activity, and that was all you got. But, I know Kieran, my oldest, he is in the band. They did Mary Poppins one year, and he wanted to be in that. And everyone was very accommodating of everyone else's schedules. He does JCL also, and they have after-school things occasionally. And, all the different activities are so good about working with each other to make sure that the kids aren't limited in everything they want to do.
You are so right about that, because both my high schoolers did soccer and band, and that I thought for sure they'd give up one, and they kept them both through the end, because the band and the soccer coaches talked. When can I have practice? They're gonna have band practice here. Okay, I'll move soccer to here, and it's so far it's worked out.
My kids come home all the time. They've been introduced to another activity, and they're like, "Mom, I want to do this. I want to play violin. I want to play volleyball." I'm like, okay, we gotta pick a few.
But that's the beauty.
But it's
great.
Yeah.
Funny that the teacher believes in your child more than you do. They're like, my kid can't do this. Yes, they can.
I would have said, I was amazed in kindergarten when Savannah came home and that she was going to have to memorize the 10 Commandments. And I'm thinking to myself, there's not a 6-year-old around that can do that. There's no way. And I'll never forget Mrs. Hossel saying to me, you will be amazed at what a child's brain can do. And she was so right. I mean, when Savannah reeled that off after practicing, I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And there's been many things that have happened like that, where they've had to, the memory verse, a weekly memory verse. And chapel, them going to chapel every day, I think is just such an awesome experience for them. And I love it. I used to, before COVID or Harvey or whatever, I loved going to chapel with my daughters.
Yeah, the whole school was
It's
in there.
just
Oh,
been an amazing experience. The music is beautiful, and they are reciting from their verse book, and it's just